So last year, before I read this book, I wanted to do a master's in business. So being excited about my new plans, I decided to tell all of my friends about this. But then I got a letter in the mail and I found out that my application got rejected. All of these friends came back later, so I had to go through a lot of awkwardness telling each of them individually that my application got rejected. Looking back now, it would have been a much better idea to keep my goals to myself and only tell people about them after I achieved them. I had broken a key law of power. Law number 3, conceal your intentions. Now, imagine you are at a job interview and the recruiter asks you, why should a company hire you? How should you answer this? Now, you could say, because I really need the job, I have a mortgage to pay and I really need the money, but that is very unlikely to work. This may sound a little harsh, but the company really doesn't care how much you need the job. A much better way to answer this question would be to tell them what skills you developed in your education and previous experience, and how are you going to help their company become more efficient and more profitable. Law number 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. The shortest and best way to make your fortune is to let people see clearly that it is in their interest to promote yours. I was taking a boxing class, and as part of the warm-ups we decided to do some handstands. So I go into a handstand and I hold it for about 5 seconds. Now 5 seconds is pretty good for a handstand. So one of the guys from the class walks over and says, "Hey, you're pretty good. How did you do that?" And I just replied, "Thanks, I just practiced for the last 6 months." His reaction was pretty neutral. He just said, "Oh, okay," and walks away. And then one of my friends does the same handstand, holds it for the same 5 seconds. So the guy walks over to her and says, "Hey, you're good as well. Did you practice it before?" She decides to joke and says, "No, actually, this is the first time I tried it." And the guy's reaction was so much more amazed. He was just like, "Oh my god, that's incredible. You are awesome." As Robert Greene says, what is understandable is not awe-inspiring. Law number 30. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. Now, here's a quick look at some of my other favorite laws. Law number 23. Concentrate your forces. Conserve your forces and energies by keeping them concentrated at the strongest point. You gain more by finding a rich mine and mining it deeper than by flitting from one shallow one to another. Intensity defeats extensity every time. This reminds me of the book The One Thing by Gary Keller, where the author teaches us a similar lesson by telling us that we are much more likely to find success if we just focus on one thing and eliminate all of the distractions around it. Law number 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. Any momentary triumph you think you have gained through argument is really a Pyrrhic victory. The resentment and ill will you stir up is stronger and lasts longer than any momentary change of opinion. It is much more powerful to get others to agree with you through your actions without saying a word. Demonstrate, not explicate. Dale Carnegie talks about the same thing in his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of his main principles is the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Ben Franklin said, "If you argue and rankle and contradict, you may achieve a victory sometimes, but it will be an empty victory because you will never get your opponent's goodwill."